The ghostly couple. During the Bunka era, there was a certain graveyard in a temple in Azabu that was said to be haunted. People claimed that night after night they could hear voices coming from it, and it scared them. A merchant who feared little happened to live nearby, and so he decided to check it out with his own two eyes and see if there was any merit to the rumours. One moonlit evening, the merchant crept into the graveyard all by himself to see what was going on. It was already past midnight, and the only thing he could hear was the sound of insects crying as the moon appeared and disappeared behind the clouds, high in the sky. A strong night breeze blew, sending a chill through his single-layer kimono. But then, from a hedge nearby, the merchant saw what appeared to be a person materialize. This person was swiftly followed by another in the same manner. The pair chatted like they knew each other well. The merchant listened closely, and they seemed to be consoling each other over their long separation. Who on earth were they? As the moon appeared from behind the clouds and lit up the area, the merchant snatched another peek at the duo. One appeared to be a thin man of perhaps 24 or 25, while the other was a woman in her 60s. And yet, judging from the way they spoke to each other, they seemed to be a married couple rather than a mother and child. The merchant had no idea what was going on, but he remained where he was until finally the cold took a hold of him and he let out a loud sneeze. The pair jumped in surprise and then disappeared in an instant. The next day, the merchant went back to the temple and told them what he saw before examining the area around the hedge. There, he found a joint grave that no longer had anyone left to tend to it. The occupants of the grave were a merchant who died when he was in his mid-20s, and his wife, who outlived him by several decades. She was then buried in the same grave as him. There is nobody to mourn this couple, so they must have been unable to move on, which is why they became ghosts. And they both looked the same age as when they died, which was why there was such a visible age gap between them, one of the temple monks said. Straw Doll. Early on the morning of April 23rd, in the 7th year of the Bunka era, 2 dogs were discovered sniffing and digging at the dirt on the border of Kajicho and Koyanagicho. A young man from the nearby liquor store watched them from behind, but then he noticed what looked like a string, so he stepped forward and pulled on it. A white box, roughly a foot long, came out. "What on earth is that?" several passers-by asked, and slowly more and more people gathered around to see what it was. "Let's get this lid off," the young man said, and inside they found an 8-inch long straw doll with a snake wrapped around it. A large needle had been pushed through the snake's back and through the doll's stomach, pinning them together. Everyone who saw the ghastly sight got shivers. "This must be a curse cast by a most evil woman," they muttered. Unable to simply throw it away, the villagers appealed to the village headman regarding the cursed doll. "Just toss it out," he said. But the snake was not yet dead, and when they took the needle out, it crawled into the stone walls of the bathhouse and then disappeared. The villagers then tossed the straw doll into the river. People may feel that these sorts of events only appear in plays or tales of old, so it was rare for so many to witness it firsthand. It also made them ponder the true fear of the human heart. The Graveyard Oni. A samurai from Kyoto was ordered to courier something to a residence in Osaka right away, and so he set out on foot that very same night. Now, this samurai was a coward, but so was his companion. They tried to hide their cowardice from each other, however, and both secretly relied on the other's presence as they tracked across the land at night. After passing through Hirakata, the men discovered a graveyard on the side of the road. There was a crematory there as well, and they could see the shadows of a fire. Fear gripped the 2 men tightly, but gradually they approached it, and in the smoke and flickering flames, they saw a strange blue oni with a large mouth and large eyes that was feasting upon a corpse. "Oh no, we most definitely should not have come here," the men thought, but it was too late to go back now. The samurai nervously took one step forward, and then another, and finally, as they got close, the men drew their swords and screamed, "Hey you! Oni over there!" "Yes? What is it?" If you don't back away right now, I'll show you exactly what I can do with this sword." The samurai tried desperately to appear threatening, and the Oni trembled. "Wait, please! I am no Oni! I am but a sick man, and I was told I would get better if I ate mochi cooked in the fire of the crematory. Yet the fire was so hot that I had to cover my face with a potato leaf to keep the flames from burning me." So said the man, who then took his mask off, and the two men were astonished. Still, the men keenly felt they had just escaped with their lives, and they hurried back towards Osaka once more. Onidono. On the eastern corner of Higashi Notoin Dori, north of Sanjo Dori, in Kyoto, there was a place called Onidono. It was said that evil spirits resided there. Before the capital moved to this area, there was a large pine tree that stood where Onidono now is. One day, a local man was riding his horse while carrying some arrows when he passed beneath this tree. As he did, suddenly there was a bolt of lightning, a roar of thunder, and heavy rain began to fall. The man was unable to continue, and so he stopped and got off his horse. Whilst huddling beneath the tree, holding the reins of his horse, a bolt of lightning struck, killing both man and beast. The man then transformed into an evil spirit. Later, when the capital was relocated, houses were built on Onidono, and people began living there. But the evil spirit continued to linger, and it's said that it's still there even now. That evil spirit has been around for a long, long time now, and people today still tell stories of the bad things that have happened there. Test run. There was a samurai of the Sakai clan who liked to test the sharpness of his sword by doing so-called test runs. He would use the bodies of executed criminals, or give money to beggars and vagrants, and then cut them down as they rejoiced in their newly found money. All of this was a way for him to relax from the pressures of life. One day, in a town south of Maebashi Castle, the samurai woke up an elderly woman who was close to 70 and gave her 100 coins. "Stand ahead of me and start walking," he ordered her. The elderly woman slowly stood up, but when she suddenly realized what was happening, she turned around and declined. "If you don't do as I say, I will cut you down and kill you," the samurai said once again. And so the woman turned around and slowly shuffled away. The samurai drew his sword and struck the elderly woman's neck. Her head went flying and landed at his feet. He grabbed her by the hair and, looking upon her face, saw her teeth gnashing and her eyes wide open. The hatred burning within them seemed to scorch him. Shaken, he threw the head down and then left, but from that night onwards, the woman's head continued to appear before him and refused to leave. The samurai went mad, and 3 days later, died. There is nothing more fearful than the grudge of a human being.